Donald Trump is once again talking about Greenland.
Yeah, and this time it's landing in real diplomatic conversations, believe it or not. This isn't just about Denmark. Canada is directly in the picture.
Trump's renewed interest in Greenland highlights Arctic security, great power competition, and NATO tensions. Any shift in Greenland status or U.S. posture affects Canadian sovereignty, Arctic defense, and North American security, whether Ottawa wants the spotlight or not. Wow. There was a meeting today in Washington, the White House, Danish and Greenland officials meeting with J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. And the outcome of that meeting was really not what the Danish and Greenland officials were hoping for, although I don't think they were really surprised either as to how that came out. So let's have a look at a couple of clips related to this. And the first one is earlier in the week, the NATO Secretary General was asked about the whole issue surrounding Trump threatening to take Greenland by military force if need be, because he wants Greenland. And of course, Denmark is a member of NATO, and there's Article 5, an attack on a NATO member is an attack on all NATO members. But what if, the question in my mind, and I still haven't heard an answer, is what if it's an attack by another NATO member? That's, it sounds silly, but it's real. Anyway, this is what the NATO Secretary General had to say in response to a reporter's question.
Collectively, as an alliance, and particularly, of course, the seven countries who are bordering on the region, we do make this analysis that the collective defense is crucial. We all see that through changes in weather patterns that sea lanes are opening up. And we have to make sure that we do everything to protect that region. It is a vital part of NATO territory. And that is exactly why, where in the past NATO was not so much involved when it came to the Arctic, that since 2025, on the request by the seven high north allies who are bordering on the Arctic, that NATO has become more involved. This has led to a few, as I said, very successful discussions within the NATO alliance with our ambassadors in Brussels and our ministers. We discussed this importance, and currently we are working on the next steps to make sure that indeed we collectively protect what is at stake here.
And not to be outdone, but to, I guess, help the Secretary General answer the question, the Prime Minister of Croatia was standing to his side and offered his take on it.
The message of all allies and all EU members is that allies have to respect each other, including the US as the largest NATO member. It is obvious what Secretary General said, that there is some concern for the area of Arctic, which includes Greenland, but I am confident that with discussion we can find a solution that will ensure security for the US, and it will make sure that Greenland is a part of Denmark, although it's not in the EU, but it is clear that it is within the authority of Denmark. That's why a high-quality dialogue is necessary, and it can definitely resolve this situation for the benefit of the global security.
And as I said a minute ago, there was a meeting at the White House today with Danish official and an official from Greenland, and they met with Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio to discuss it. The Danish representative, when you watch him, he is diplomatic in his response, but you can hear and see the frustration. when you watch this. So let's just play that now.
The president has made his view clear, and we have a different position. We, the Kingdom of Denmark, continue to believe that also the long-term security of Greenland can be ensured inside the current framework, the 1951 agreement on the defense of Greenland, as well as the NATO treaty. For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk. We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore if we can find a common way forward. The group, in our view, should focus on how to address the American security concerns, while at the same time respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark. We expect that such a group will meet for a first time within a matter of weeks.
Pretty reserved, biting his tongue there.
Yeah, very much so. Now, let's just bring it home, because you will recall that Prime Minister Carney was asked about the whole issue of NATO in Greenland and Trump's musings about taking over Greenland last week when he was in Paris. And this is what he had to say at that point in time. And we're not going to have that, actually. No, we're not going to have that, which is too bad. But you know, he danced around it and basically said we're working to try and resolve the situation, that Canada supports Greenland and Denmark in their sovereignty, that they are. Denmark is a sovereign nation, and Greenland wants to stay with Denmark. So we support it. But it brings in the bigger picture now of our own Arctic sovereignty and security, the S&S of the Arctic. And that's why there is a lot of focus being put in as part of the replenishment of the Canadian military, a focus on the Arctic. Because don't forget, just across the horizon on the other side is Russia. And they have been building a number of bases along that edge, that northern edge of Russia, where you know, they're butting or close to butting up against us. So they're not that far away, and the Chinese have an interest too. And as Deborah just popped in to say, security is not the issue, it's an excuse for obtaining mineral and control of passages. Exactly. I mean, that sums it up. That's what Trump's after.
Yeah.
Because the U.S. has a long-standing agreement, goes back years and years, with Greenland to have military bases, and they did. And I think it was maybe the 70s into the early 80s, in that time frame, somewhere in there, they shut down those bases, packed up, and went home. And they've been offered, you know, the agreement is in place, and they've been offered the ability to go back in and reestablish those bases if they're concerned about security.
Right.
And Trump really wants nothing to do with it. Now, I did catch a very quick clip over summertime of Trump in the White House. He was doing something today, signing some kind of an agreement. He had a bunch of people and some kids in the office signing this agreement. And he was asked about the meeting. And like Iran right now, he's kind of toned down on a military strike on Iran at the moment. Today, he was in one of those, I guess, moods where he's toned that down. But he also toned down his talk about Greenland in the response. Essentially, he said, well, you know, we're talking. And they came in and they said they're doing things to beef things up. He said they added a new dog sled patrol. What's a dog sled patrol?
Yeah.
That's what he said. In the meantime,
Yeah, and I heard that.
yeah, exactly. And in the meantime, the Danish foreign minister, who we just heard a minute ago, earlier in that news conference, said that they have spent a lot of money in beefing up their military and equipment, and they have more to do and to help with Greenland as far as making sure that it is secure. And
Right.
it's all about the minerals. There's no question. The minerals, the resources.
Yeah.
As it is
Yeah.
all about the minerals and resources in our North Country as well.
Correct.
And Trump has been pushing for that, and he just keeps kind of pushing away at it. So far, again, you know, it's almost like we're doing a report card on Mark Carney tonight. And again, yes, he's been busy. There's no question.
Well, you know, it's been a year. I think we should be doing a report card.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Right.
But it, you know, it has. He's busy. We know he's got all of these other issues. But again, this is one of those things at home, and where people are starting to get antsy, and even the opposition now is starting to mention this from time to time about the fact that he's spending more time on the road than at home, and things may be starting to pile up. So he's got to get a hold of it. Let's go. We have another comment here. Bringing that up. Joe says, diplomatic discussions mean nothing to Trump. He is an unhinged rogue actor threatening the safety of the entire world. Unhinged, bang on, Joe.
Yeah.
He is just, he's just a babbling old
5-year-old?
Oh, what?
A 5-year-old?
Well, that too.
Well, you know, I don't know if there was another interview, and I forget. My wife and I were watching it earlier on. It was a couple of other ministers, part of that entourage that went to Washington. I think the premier of the minister of Greenland was there, along with some official from Denmark. And again, biting their tongues in terms of what was discussed, and you know, however the reaction from the American delegation. And he actually came out and said that Donald Trump or the Americans are just interested in conquest, in conquering Denmark. Like, wow! I can't remember the last time I actually heard the word conquer or conquest or conquering. I think the last time I saw it was in the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe about conquering the Bavarian, whatever they were, and just using that word conquer, I thought I was watching a movie. You just don't hear that today anymore. What are we talking about? We're not in the 1700s or the 1800s where the British Empire was expanding their empire and conquering these countries down in Africa and Southeast Asia and whatnot. I mean, you read this in books and part of novels, but for a minister in today's day and age to accuse a country of being interested in nothing but conquest and conquering, holy smokes, Gary, especially in this side of the world. Both my wife and I were really, really taken aback by those words coming out of the Danish delegation.
But it's true. And the other part of it is I was reading an article last night, and they were talking about the fact that at that point Trump was really seemed to be hot on launching a military action against Iran. And he said,
Yes.
it's coming. And today, he's rather subdued and kind of off in another world, and it's like almost non-existent in his mind. But
Yeah.
but what they were saying in the article, and when you think about it, it's true. He has been the so-called president of peace, as he calls himself, Pop. He has been using more military action, bombing here, bombing there, and it seems that he's pushed it to a point where now he's really getting hung up on the power that he has. And the only thing now really that can hold him back to any degree, because he's surrounded himself with yes people, is the military. The generals. If something comes up, their sworn duty is to the Constitution, not to the commander-in-chief. And they have the right to say no.
Yeah. Who's going to be the first to disobey a major? Yeah. Who is going to be the first to disobey a major order? And is Congress going to support that decision by the military commander? This is just, oh my God, this is so convoluted. It is just so convoluted. Congress has been powerless to stop him from doing anything now. It doesn't matter if he's breaking the law, a United States law, if he's breaking state law, if he's breaking federal law, as I mentioned, if he's breaking international law. There just doesn't seem to be any entity within that government. And I think you said last week there really isn't a functional government in the United States. Who's going to claw this guy back? As Joe mentioned, he's unhinged. Who's going to pull this unhinged person back if it's not the Congress? And you know what, Gary? Scary as it sounds, I think you're getting to the point of being more and more right with every week that passes by. Military.
Yeah.
What's the military going to end up doing with all of this?
There's going to be something that comes along, and one of the generals will say, sorry, Mr. President.
Right.
No. What the tipping point is going to be, I don't know. But, we're only going into year 2. Another week,
Yes.
and it'll just
Yeah.
be a year under our belt since he was sworn in. So, we still have another couple of years to go through this. And Joe says, waiting for the day Orange Man kisses the dirt.
I guess he's reading the obituaries too.
I guess he is. However, we come back to the fact that the new, as they call themselves, the new government, Canada's new government, and after a year, that's old, but is focusing on our Arctic. Well, we've got to get some decisions made and rolling. There's still no final report or decision made on the F-35 deal. And Sweden the other day came out and said, look, you buy 70, whatever it was, Griffins, plus forget how many of the surveillance aircraft.
Surveillance planes, right.
Yeah. And that is going to produce 12,800 jobs in Canada. Between aircraft manufacturing, maintenance, and what have you. Bombardier, they're partnered with Bombardier, and Bombardier had a good year last year from a market standpoint. And this is solid that they'd be building planes not only for our order, but for other orders around the world as well. And
Correct.
the Griffin is proven to be more capable, operational in the Arctic than the F-35s. The F-35s may be highly sophisticated, But if you've got sophistication, that when you get into a very large part of the country that you're supposed to be defending, and your plane can't function, you can have all of the sophisticated software on it in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth a dime. Why is it? Again, Carney said he was going to move things along at breakneck speed that we have never seen. But I see things still just kind of going along at a tortoise pace here. And I know trying to make changes within the workings of government is like trying to stop a fully loaded tanker on the Bay of Fundy. You're not stopping it on time. So it's going to take, because there's a culture, all in the culture that you inherit once you go into that sort of thing. We have a couple of more comments coming in here too.
Oh, nice.
Let me see, just make sure I get all of them. Yeah. Okay. Ivanka says, you can't trust anyone in government. That is a fair perception that a lot of Canadians hold. And they kind of relaxed it a bit over the last year, giving the new guy, the new kid on the block, a chance. But there's some things that are happening that, the trust is eroding, and it's eroding, I would suggest, quickly. And where are we here? Serge says, elections in 11 months might change the balance in Congress, for sure, but also Senate, as we start to see. That could be Trump's game change right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going like the campaign leading up to the November elections, midterms. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to how that all plays out. First of all, how many reoffer? And there's been a few of them who said, we're not reoffering, they're out.
Right.
How many reoffer? And
how many fossils leave? There are a lot of fossils there.
and I saw a chart the other day, actually, of committed voters.
Right.
And Republican and Democrats were in the high 20 percentiles. The biggest jump is in people who are declaring themselves independent, and they were up around 45%, made up, from what I understood in reading the article, made up of Gen Zers and millennials in particular.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's some, in the older demos as well, they've had enough of the old stream. And, much the same as here in Canada. A lot of people are fed up with the old line parties. And really, who can blame them? It's like they're a business unto themselves.
Right.
And we're just part of the equipment along the way to help fill the coffers, the war chests.
Yeah.
For the parties. It's really a challenge, no question. So, we come back around to the fact Trump and Greenland raising the same question again. Is Canada, shaping Arctic security or reacting once others move first?
Mm-hmm.
That's frustrating. Like, we should be out in front. There's nothing stopping us from taking the lead here. And to me, that's as important for the country and the pride in the country and kickstarting the national economy as getting markets lined up offshore.
True. Yeah.
That's how I see it. So with that, Eddie, we should probably call it a wrap. Oh, we have one more comment coming in. Joe's weighing in. cancel the F-35s, build a BYD EV plant in Canada. If any of the auto sector moves south, and Trump will surely have a jammer.
It's nice to get a Western Canadian perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, is it ever? He knows how to land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, with that, let's wrap this up this way. Tonight's stories may just, may be disconnected a bit. Alberta's frustration, leadership on the world stage, and Trump's renewed interest in the Arctic, but they're all pointing to the same uncomfortable question: is Canada leading or reacting?
Yeah, and Gary, that's and when parts of the country feel unheard, as we talked about at the beginning of our segment, leadership can't just manage the noise; it has to address the cause. When Canadians are struggling with affordability, global credibility only matters if people feel it at home, right here in Canada. And as we just spoke, when the Arctic becomes a strategic chessboard, geography doesn't give Canada the luxury of sitting back, Gary, as you just mentioned.
And Eddie, none of this is about panic. It's not about picking villains either. It's about whether we're having honest conversations early. And that's the key. Honest conversations early, instead of rushed debates once decisions are already made for us.
Mm-hmm.
These are the conversations we should be having calmly, clearly, and before the stakes get higher.